Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I want to know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Wellness Wednesday. Wellness Wednesday is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. And today we are discussing trauma and how it does not define you. Trauma does not define you. And my very special guest is Mrs. Rolanda Brown-Dennis, a clinician who is based here in Tallahassee, Florida. And I'm super excited and delighted to have her on the show with me tonight. But before I bring her on, I want to hear from you. We are live on Conversations with Nicole Facebook page, on the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel. And so I want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? If you will, in the comments, let us know. Put your city and your state in the comments so we can give you a shout out. This show, this live broadcast on Mondays and Wednesdays is all about mental health and wellness and trying to eliminate the stigma around mental health and mental illness and encourage us to get our checkup from the neck up. And so we have a safe space for us to engage with one another, to communicate, and for folks to see clinicians of color and to maybe take some of the mystery out of counseling and therapy. And so I see some folks chiming in. I love it. Hey there, Mr. Johnny Johnson. Thank you for being here. We got Jessica Matson from Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. Miss Tia 0203 in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. Miss Shonda Jenkins in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. So for those of you who may be first timers to the platform, I definitely invite you to subscribe to the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel. Again, we are here on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Again, for about an hour, just having dialogue and getting maybe your questions answered and learning from one another. So I see April Tenor here in Tallahassee at MSW too. Okay, thank you for being here. Cheryl Morgan Rollins, thank you for being here in Tallahassee. Stephanie Plans, thank you for being here. Good evening. Welcome one and all. Y'all, yes, please tag a friend, share, like, and share. Let them know they want to be in here and part of this conversation. So while there are others who will be joining us, I am going to go ahead and read some of Rolanda's bio. Rolanda is a holistic eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, also known as EMDR therapist, and an EMDR certification prospect. She is the founder and owner of Manifestation Wellness, which I love the name of her business. She is also the founder and CEO of Community Helpers for Children and Youth, Inc., a graduate of the Florida A&M University, go Rattlers, obtaining both her master's and master's degrees from the Department of Social Work. She has extensive experience in the child welfare and community arena. Over the past 20 years, she has dedicated her life's work to advocating, empowering, and supporting individuals, families, and communities. She has a burning desire to be a vessel in and healing community from trauma through support, teaching, education, and accountability, empowering people to see their own inner worth, becoming self aware, and helping them find their voice and self validation through intentional spoken word and action. Ultimately, providing community with skills to take charge of their whole being through growth of oneself, of one's self discovery to transformation into one's higher self. So, y'all help me welcome Miss Rolanda Brown-Dennis. Yay! Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure, my pleasure. So, before we get started with our conversation, I often ask my guests, who are you? Not what you do, but who are you? So, if you don't mind, share with us, who is Rolanda Brown-Dennis?
I am a healer, is who I am. And I am a vessel out here doing the Lord's work. Everything that I do by operating in the Spirit through His guidance. And I look to pour into His people the best way that He allows me to. So I am a burst of energy. I am fun. I am energetic. I love people. I'm life.
Hey, I love it. I'm live. Okay, beautiful. Well, we are so glad to have you here with us tonight. I see a few more people chiming in and also welcoming you. My girlfriend Susan, who's out of Hampton, Virginia, Miss Ruth Collins, Tallahassee. She is the proud mother of Mrs. Rolanda Brown-Dennis. She loves you. Thank
I
you for
love
being
you too,
here.
Mom.
Being here, Mama. We appreciate you. All right. And Miss Tia giving an amen to you as well. So tell us a little bit about your practice and kind of how you came to this work.
Okay. So, Manifestation Wellness is a holistic practice. I offer EMDR therapy, holistic therapy, which also integrates holistic practice and with our the therapeutic practice, which is sound baths, meditation, mindfulness, training, speaking engagements, things that help community members tap into themselves, help peel off, the different layers so they can just get back to their oneness, learning who they are, and actually reaching their goals. And how manifestation wellness came about, it's a two-part. So part of it was based on my professional career working in child welfare and foster care, having the opportunity to work with natural families, foster families, and the youth, and seeing the needs along with the challenges that they were facing, and also my colleagues, things that they were facing as professionals, the secondary trauma, and then in my personal life, just observing what some may call like this is the hand that I was dealt type of things, and losses within the family, and recognizing that there was a common theme that everyone was experiencing some type of trauma. And I wanted to be able to provide services that would help my clients get to the root causes of what they were experiencing, and then empowering them by learning some techniques that they could use, at home in between their therapeutic sessions, either with myself or whomever their therapist is. And so it has been very, very rewarding to be able to pour into so many people in the community and just see their faces and the realization of like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it this way. And it's been wonderful. It's definitely been wonderful.
Awesome. Nice. Well, we can't have too many counselors of color because I think just as, Black folks in particular in America, you know, we all probably need some counseling
Mm,
because of some of the trauma that we have been through our lived experience here. So thank you for what you do
thank
and for serving this community.
thank you.
So are you currently taking any new clients?
I am. I am accepting clients beginning at the age of 5 and up.
Okay.
And I'm also still booking speaking engagements.
Mhm.
Whatever the need is, I'm there.
Okay. And so do you take insurance or
I
no?
do not take insurance, but I'm private pay and my rate is $85.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So again, I bring this up because I want people to know um, when there are counselors on the show that are taking clients, what their fee is, if they take insurance, that sort of thing. So you will be well aware. No, you don't even have to question it.
Mm.
Okay. So Miss Brown-Dennis is taking new clients, and you can serve people throughout the entire state of Florida.
Right now, yes, I offer telehealth and in person.
Okay.
So if they are able to travel to my office, I do have a brick and mortar. We can, meet in office. I do 15-minute consultations either on the phone, via Zoom, or in person. I love to have potential clients actually come by the office because I think it's important to kind of see what energy you're feeling when you come. I like for my clients to feel comfortable when they come, and make sure that they are, having that connection with me. But if they're not available to do that by phone or Zoom, I'm available as well.
Okay, very good. Again, just want to make folks aware, just in case there were some questions and they were feeling shy and didn't want to ask them. Okay. All right, so I want to acknowledge a few more folks that I see here on the live. My sister Shayla, my blood sister Shayla, who is down in South Florida. Thank you for being here. Miss Keosha here in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And Mount Up Life Coaching is here. Good evening. Mount Up, let us know where you are tuning in from. Put your city and state in the comments if you don't mind. All right. So trauma does not define you. We're going to get started with that in just a minute, but I do like to read my disclaimer when I have clinicians on here. So if you all would just bear with me a moment. And that states that all topics past, present, and future on Conversations with Nicole are for informational purposes only. They are not to be used as a diagnosis for treatment or an answer to any personal issue related to the topic being discussed before, during, or after the program. So we don't want you all to confuse this live for counseling. I know it's going to be good like counseling, but it's not counseling. All right. So Mount Up is in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. And my mom just showed up from Miami. Thank you for being here, Ma. Hope you had a great day. All right. So trauma does not define you. When you say that statement, what does that I mean, what does that mean? How do you feel? What do you mean it doesn't define me?
It is it's a very powerful statement within itself. Just the word trauma alone speaks volumes. And I also, if you don't mind, I like to give my disclaimer of trigger warning. If there's anything that I bring up that makes you feel uncomfortable, please do what's best for you and your mental health, because sometimes just through basic conversations, you can be reminded of things that may be disturbing, and that's not something that I want to do at all.
Indeed.
So thank you for letting me do that. But just the word trauma itself it's a very deep word, and it is also broad. It can mean so many different things. There's so many different types of traumatic events that we as individuals can experience in life. And I say experience because that's what it is. It's an experience.
Mhm.
That's where the detachment is. It's not you. So you are not your trauma. The events and experiences that happen to you don't define who you are as an individual. It's an experience that was encountered. And it's important for us to remember that so that way we can move forward in a healthier light in our life. And a lot of times I think that when we have these experiences, if we are not seeking therapy to assist us and allowing our brain to have the natural healing process, there's a sense of getting stuck within it. And so our decisions, our thoughts, our actions, all of that are altered based on that experience. But when we learn to detach ourselves from that experience that occurred, we can still grow in a healthy sense and be our higher, more authentic selves.
So let's unpack that a little more. So how would you define trauma? I mean, I know experience, but give us a little more.
So I would define it as a negative experience that has had an impact on your life, that has come in and maybe caused some type of dis-ease or, something to that effect, where it has caused your brain to not be able to fully heal the way that it needed to. Therefore, anything that comes up that reminds you of that said experience, you get in that fight, flight, or freeze state, which is where EMDR therapy comes in, because with that therapy, we reactivate the brain. We take you back to that experience and we reactivate it so that way the brain can properly heal. It doesn't erase the experience, but if it does come up again, you don't have that strong fight, flight, or freeze reaction that you would have had previously. It allows you to understand that, okay, this did happen once in my life, but I'm able to move past, I'm able to move forward and know that I'm still growing. And like I said before, that looks like a lot of different things for individuals, especially in Black and Brown communities. We live our lives in day-to-day trauma that may have been passed down from generations. And we're taught to live a certain way based on those traumas. And some of us don't even realize that that does stem from trauma. That's just the way of life type of thought process that we have.
So I'm glad you said that, because I want to kind of flush out the idea that trauma, or maybe someone can experience the same experience, like identical experiences. However, one person may view that experience as traumatic and one person may not.
Yeah. I believe that it all depends on the person's outlook and where they are personally, support systems, things that they have, resources that they may have in place to get them through that said experience. There's a lot that can factor into that, because as individuals, we're individuals, right? We all have a different way that we react and handle things. And that doesn't mean that because one person handles it differently from the other person, that it still won't have some type of underlying, effect to it. I like to use the idea of testing, right? So some people have test anxiety. The way that they display having that test anxiety is going to be different. That anxiety is directly connected to whatever the root cause is, whatever that first test was that caused them to have this anxiety. That's where it stems from. But everyone's reaction to it is not going to be the same. You're going to have difference of opinion, difference of outlook, difference of ways that you move forward to handle it the next time you end up having a test. And so that's something that I like to introduce to my clients. Like what can we do different? What are the options? Because I honestly believe that we kind of get faced with similar situations often, in life, same script, different cast type of situation. But if we are able to be self-aware and know and listen to our body, we can say, okay, this feels very familiar to me. What can I do different?
Yeah. No, that's good. And that's a good example. That whole test taking piece. But I want to dive a little deeper because as, I think about trauma and our title, Trauma Does Not Define You. These lived experiences can sometimes, I'll just say, haunt us, for lack of a better term, right? Because our memory may become our enemy from the standpoint of us replaying the experience over and over and over again. And so now we take on this ownership, if you will, or this identity of whatever that experience was that was negative, that was traumatic, that, caused us great emotional anguish. And so, how can we alleviate some of that in terms of that? I call it the record, playing over and over, that recording that plays over and over and over again in a said experience. How can we, stop that record from playing, that recording from playing, and not, take on this identity of what that traumatic experience or experiences.
So what I would first say, excuse me, is therapy. That's number one. I'm gonna put that out there. That was my number one thing. And the next thing that I would say to tap into is mindfulness. And with mindfulness, it is having a better understanding of how your thoughts are and being able to stop yourself and interject the positive. How do you want to think about yourself? How do you want to think about your life? How do you want to think about the situations or situations that you would like to be engaged in? And so when we are being consciously aware of how our thoughts are going and we are interrupting those thoughts and thinking of putting something positive in place, we are exercising our brain to no longer be attached to that, right? So I always like to say, and it's not simple, because you have to unlearn and relearn things. So I always like to say, for every negative thought that you find yourself having, give yourself 3 more positive. For every negative thought that you find yourself having, look around the room and find 5 things that are positive that you could not, that you didn't notice before. Because now what you're doing is you're introducing your brain to only looking for the positive in all things, in all situations, your surroundings. And as you're exercising your brain and doing those things, it's going to become a natural habit, right? It's going to take time for that to happen, but at some point you'll be able to realize, like, okay, I'm starting to have this intrusive or this really negative thought. Like, nope, you know what? I'm not even going to think that way, because the energy that we put out into the universe, the thoughts that we put out, the words that we put out, it's going to keep coming back to you, right? We are beings of energy. And so what we are putting out is what we will also receive. And so when we are being intentional with the thoughts that we're having about ourselves or about situations and separating ourselves from those, not saying that it did not exist, and not saying that it did not hurt or whatever the cause, the consequence or what have you may have been, but we don't want to get stuck on that. And so that's how we get off of that hamster wheel, by saying, you know what, let me do something different from
Yeah.
what I'm always used to doing.
Mhm.
I always say, think about the type of music that you're listening to as well. The type of music that you're listening to, places that you've eaten at. Like, we all have that one song that, you know, when we think about it, when we hear that song, it takes us back to whatever, whether it's high school or prom or, you know, first date, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That's how the brain, you know, operates. And
Mm.
so if you know that there's a particular song that's going to bring you a negative memory, and it's going to get you on that wheel of thinking, oh, this shouldn't have happened, or I could have done this differently, then let's change what we're listening to. Okay, I hear this song is coming. That sounds like the beat, right? Go and change it to another station. So like the Juvenile song, as soon as you hear that beat, before he even says anything, you know, oh, that's Juvie right there. Let me go ahead on and, you know,
Right.
you know it's coming.
Yes.
So
No.
exercising mindfulness, and practicing and being intentional with your thought process, and also being intentional with your words. We really have to be intentional about what we are speaking over ourselves, what we're speaking over ourselves, and what others are speaking over us as well. That's traumatic within itself. But that's how I would say to, you know, stop at the beginning. One of the resources, I'll say, not the beginning, because the beginning is therapy, but one of the resources, and changing that record that's playing.
Yes, love it. Yes, you said a whole word there about being intentional with your words, what you speak, because not only does the person who you are speaking to hear what you're saying, but you hear what you are saying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you definitely want to speak life and positivity, and, you know, because words do have power, words do have energy and vibrations and frequencies. And
Yeah.
so all of that, you know, will be returning unto you.
Yep.
You are putting that out into the universe. So for sure. I see Dr. Monica has joined us. Thank you for being here. As well as Miss Nicole Jefferson. Thank you for being here. I hope you are doing well. And we got Tan Lofton in the house. Oh my goodness. Miss Sweet Old Face and Juice Bar Miami. Thank you for being here. And Alonza is here too. Okay, Alonza, thank you for being here, my brother. All right, Tallahassee is showing up tonight. So we are almost halfway through our talk. So for those of you who are just joining us, I am on with Mrs. Rolanda Brown-Dennis, a clinician here in Tallahassee, Florida, the owner of Manifestation Wellness. And we are talking about trauma and how it does not define you. Trauma does not define you. Okay, I see you, Miss Jeanette in Miami Gardens. Thank you for being here as well. All right, so we have talked about, we've defined trauma. We've talked about how we can maybe eliminate the rumination, which is the repeating of that recording in your head through is with every one negative thought, thinking of three positive thoughts, exercising mindfulness and being intentional with your words and the things that you take in, what you are hearing as well.
Yes.
All right. And so I want to dive a little deeper now. So again, as Black folks in America, you know, we can't help the skin that we're in, right? And so we
So
continue,
beautiful though.
it is, if we continue though to uh, receive some prejudice, bias, discriminatory treatment because of the skin that we are in, because of the kink in our hair, the broadness of our noses, and the fullness of our lips, then we may start feeling bad about ourselves, right?
Right.
And so, but we can't help any of that. I
Right.
mean, some of us do try with bleaching and, plastic surgery and things of that nature, but we can't help it.
Right.
So what do we do?
So representation matters.
Okay.
Put yourself in spaces where you are with people that look like you. You are with people that think like you, like-minded individuals. Um, I I was actually just having this conversation with someone, and we were talking about the presence of social media and news outlets and how the comparison aspect of my skin should look like this, and my hair should look like this, or my body should look like this, and dismantling the idea, the comparison idea, and just learning how to love who you are for who you are and how your body looks, and doing that by being in spaces where the energy is reciprocated, right? I think, those of us that have social media, we all love social media, but I think we can all also say that we do see a lot of tearing apart. And when you are engaging in that, it begins to get programmed in your mind that way. And so it's important to disconnect from those things. And I'm a big advocate for being out, in nature, and getting rooted and being connected, and, speaking into yourself, looking in the mirror and saying your affirmations, and not always looking for the answer on social media or on the news outlets or the validation from others. Learning how to self-validate yourself, knowing that you are good enough. For so many years, we have been told that we are not. Whether that, and the honest to God truth is, whether that be from family members or growing up and, going to school or anything, within the community, but building up that strength of confidence and that self-love, that self-worth, that self-value, that self-respect, and knowing that I don't have to look like that because I'm supposed to look like the way that I look, like the way that this is how I was created. This is how I was made, and being strong in that. Now, again, just like with the mindfulness, it's not something that happens overnight. So you really have to put things in place. You really have to be open to, and it could be very uncomfortable, but getting up every morning and looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I am beautiful. I do love myself, or I am handsome, or, whatever that affirmation needs to look like. In the beginning, you may not feel that it's 100% true, but as you continue to do these things, you are speaking that life into yourself.
Yes.
You are seeing that it's okay to have my afro. I'm good with that. Before I went natural, I was permed out, honey, hair down my back. You couldn't tell me anything. But I had one incident that happened that made me switch that mindset and realize I'm living by someone else's idea of how I should look, to be professional. I deserve to be in every space that I'm in, and I deserve to be there as my authentic self. And so does everyone else. And when we start teaching ourselves that, when we start reading, books and journaling and doing all of these activities, there's different self-love books that, you can get from Amazon, and even for, children, to help in instilling these things within yourself. It's all about being intentional. If it's something that you really want for yourself, you have to advocate for yourself and put things in your environment that are going to help grow and flourish that seed. And that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. So I heard positive affirmations. I heard representation, being around people with similar experiences or that look like you. And so all of that matters, as we deal with the traumas, right? And specifically, you talked about the trauma of being a Black person in America.
Yeah.
Because this can definitely, be burdensome, especially with some of the encounters that we have with maybe, well, I'm not even going to point out any particular sector because it's in every sector within education, within healthcare, within law enforcement, within, the legal realm. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's
It
systemic.
is.
It's systemic. And I think, definitely over these last 3 years, it has definitely been highlighted with, the pandemic, with us social distancing and, all of the things that came about, especially the summer of 2020, with the deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and many, many more. Right.
Yeah.
So, yes. All right. I'm going to pause for a moment. I see a few more folks have chimed in. Miss Kimmy Johnson, who's here in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. Mr. Casey Dennis is on the line. Greetings. That's Rolanda's husband. Thank you for being here, my brother. And we got Enigma Sep. Mr. Emmanuel is here. He said, amen at everything Mrs. Brown-Dennis just said. Thank you for being here, E. So I want to get the audience involved. I want to know, we're talking about your trauma does not define you. I want to know how maybe you all cope with traumatic experiences. So in the comments, if you don't mind sharing, again, this is a safe space for us to engage with one another. Please share maybe 1 or 2 ways that you cope with, either have or, some ways that you cope with traumatic experiences or have cope with a traumatic experience in the comments, if you don't mind. So I will tell you all one way that I have been dealing with traumatic experiences is that I seem to have had quite a few of them lately around death in particular. I just allow myself to feel what I am feeling, and that is the hurt, the heartache, and I cry. I mean, that's one of the emotions that I tend to try to shy away from because I feel like I don't have time for all of that because I got other stuff I need to do, and crying can be so exhausting for me. And so I just allow myself to cry and be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very healthy also. It's a very natural process to, experience things. And we as human beings, we have emotion, right? And emotion is natural, and I believe that you cannot control emotion. You have to allow it to take its course. And so when you recognize, like, okay, this has occurred, this is the feeling that I have, and allow it to process and release. And that release could look like journaling. It could look like crying and journaling. It could look like, meditating on it, just giving yourself that time to feel it and allow it to wash instead of suppressing it. It's when we suppress it is when we start to create even larger challenges, illness within the body and things like that. So that is a very healthy process that you practice in. That's a very healthy skill.
This is a new phenomenon for me, I'm telling you, because I listen, I avoid it like the plague. Busy, but my body is keeping the score. So as I suppress that, and like you said, it just causes other health issues. So,
but then that ties also into trauma as well, because if we think about, for generations, that wasn't allowed. Men weren't allowed to cry, or women weren't allowed to. They had to be the strong Black woman and hold it together. And you didn't have time for that. And so you had these different things that were having, the emotional eating or the emotional spending, and it just different things just, spiraled, creating other things that became dramatic as well, so.
Absolutely. Well, we have got quite a few comments. Miss
Okay.
Tia, she said therapy on speed dial. Love it. All right. Kimmy said therapy and my faith has been very effective for me. Also having transparent conversations with close friends. Yes.
I love it.
We got Dr. Atia on here out of Jacksonville. She said buffers, boosters, and boundaries.
Oh, my favorite, boundaries. I love boundaries.
Here, Dr. A. We got Atisa said, yes, so proud of Professor Brown-Dennis. Yes, wonderful. Kimmy, this is a much needed discussion. Thank you, Kimmy. Appreciate you being on. Jessica, process my emotions, remove myself from the trigger as much as possible. Listen to uplifting music, surround myself with supportive loved ones. Yes, great. All of those are wonderful. April, deep breathing exercises, having outlets, singing and worshiping, exercising, self-care. Love it, love it, love it. Cheryl, my trauma is grief and it's been a struggle. Prayer has helped. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Yes, enhancing self-care. Okay, thank you, Jessica. Crying is cleansing. Yes, Kimmy, it is for sure. Casey, meditation and EMDR therapy. Wonderful. That's great. Belinda Gordon Battle, she is a clinician out of South Florida, out of Miami. Thank you for being here. She says, sleep, rest, go to the water. Yes, water is healing.
I love, yes. That's my coping is the water. The
Okay,
beach.
good. So we got some water babies on here. I love it. All right. Dr. A said being intentional about healing practices, inserting experiences and people that bring me joy, and creating boundaries and therapy. Yes.
Yes.
Love
Yes.
all of those. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, good deal. All right. Well, I really wanted to dive into the black trauma piece because,
Yeah.
that's big. And I feel like we are probably we've heard more about that more in the last 3 years than ever. And I feel like there's more of a comfortability around talking about it publicly.
Yeah.
So I definitely wanted us to kind of dive into that one.
It's definitely a very important topic. And I also believe that the choice of words that we are using to try to explain it within our communities,
Mm-hmm.
I have to remind myself to not always speak from like a social work perspective. Like it's still social work, but not use the dialogue that I would typically use with my colleagues to make sure that I'm expressing it in almost like an everyday type of, language, because we may say mental health, but in our communities, they may not really see mental health. For us, for others, it could be, sis, I'm tired, which is the code, like, the mental health. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, or, I'm just making it through another day. Just things like that are just the common everyday conversations. And no one looks at it as trauma. It's like, nah, like people go through that, every day. What do you mean you don't hear gunshots all the time? Like, what? That's normal, type of thing. So continuing to have that awareness, but then continuing to enlighten our people on what that could look like for them. Like, no, it's not normal to put drugs in your kid's bag and send them to school, type of, just different things like that, which could be the survival, It's time for us to thrive and not just be surviving.
Yeah.
That's something that is important to me, is helping communities gain generational wealth through all aspects of wellness.
Right. Yeah. And wealth not just being relegated to finances or money.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got a few more comments. We got Mr. Stacy Tenor on. Thank you for being. He said, making love. That's legit. We get it. And prayer. He said, give it to God and let it go. All right. Nicole said, forgiveness of myself and others. Yes, love it.
Yeah.
That is important. That forgiveness piece is very important. Indeed. So we cannot allow the trauma to define us.
Right.
And I think also, I mean, you've mentioned mindfulness, but mindset is so important. You know,
It
like
is.
how we view these experiences
Yeah.
is important.
Yeah. And how we're taught to view them as well. A lot of what we believe about ourselves or know about ourselves comes from what others have told us. And it's important, you know, I think I said it before, to pull back those layers and begin the healing process and say, okay, who am I? Let me define myself, not based on what someone else, you know, has said about me or what have you, but who am I? A book that I have my students and I have been reading this summer is The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health. And it is a very powerful book to read. She gets right to the nitty gritty about it, but it's an eye opener of just, you know, how things that have occurred, you know, within our community and ways that mental health has been handled to the best of, you know, our ability. So yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gotten the book yet. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned it because I need to add that to my next Amazon order list.
It's on Audible also.
Is it?
Yeah, it's on Audible as well.
I might have to check that out.
And my students have given a lot of great feedback because I like for them to see themselves first before they go out and try to pour into the community. Absolutely. I think it's important for any and all, even if you're not a clinician, if you are working, you know, in the community or working with people, it's important to be self-aware. We don't want to be triggered and we don't want to go out triggering others. You know, we can't be out there fighting with the client and the baby daddy or whomever. You know, we gotta keep it professional.
All right, Jessica says she's adding that book to her list. Yes, it's a must read. I've read excerpts of it, and I've actually had the author on my show.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah, it is definitely a must read. All right, so Shonda wants to know, do you accept teenagers?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Yeah, she starts at age 5 on up, and she is accepting new clients. So we'll get to how you can connect with her in just a little bit. So I think that, you know, as we've been talking about some of the things that we need to put in our arsenal to help us with these traumatic experiences, you know, mindset being very important. And, you know, what we are taking in, what are we listening to, what are we seeing, what are we watching, and, you know, how we process all of that, how we, what our thoughts are about these things that we are exposed to. Right.
Right.
And so, you know, just want to encourage all of us to, you know, be careful. Be careful because we do take in, there's a lot of information, a lot of things that cross our paths on a daily basis, a lot of messaging. And so that messaging, I don't think our brain is able to process all of it as
Yeah.
it's coming to us simultaneously. Although, I think it's trying as best it can, but, a lot of it, kind of gets thrown by the wayside, but maybe we pick it back up at a later time. But just be careful of some of the things and, don't take it on so heavy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
I know sometimes it can be difficult when we see certain things, especially when we see certain things that happen maybe negatively or violently with people that look
Right.
at us. But we that contributes to us maybe wearing that garment of the trauma defining us, and
Right.
we don't want that to happen.
Right.
Mhm.
And with that being said, also, for me, it goes back to the boundaries as well. We often talk about having boundaries for others, but we have to make sure that we're starting with ourselves as well, setting boundaries, for ourselves. Change the algorithms and on your social media.
Yeah.
There's a little X up there. You can stop following, and
Mhm.
I think that social media can be very beneficial if we are using it for what we're looking for. If you want to learn how to make more money, start following
Right.
things that give you that, and take away the other stuff, because even though you've watched it for that 60 seconds or what have you,
Mhm.
once you're asleep, your brain is still processing.
Mhm.
It's the same thing that I tell my clients during sessions. Everything that we're discussing, your brain doesn't stop when you leave my office. Your brain is going to continue to process that. And as the week goes on, different behaviors, different thoughts, just different things will come up for you. And that happens in everyday life with things that you internalize, through watching. And I think I would be missing out if I also did not say to also be mindful of what you're eating as well, because that
Mhm.
plays an effect on your thought process and your energy levels and all of that. I love high vibrational foods. I mean, I love me a good Popeye's chicken also, but you gotta when you want the best results for yourself, you gotta make sure that every area, spiritually, mentally, all of that, you are really setting those boundaries for yourself and
Mhm.
being intentional. Not no matter how tempting it could be, having that self-discipline to say, like, nah, this isn't good for me.
Yeah.
I'm not in a good space right now to be able to bring that into my, emotional real estate.
For
So
sure. Yeah, no, it makes a difference. And while, I know there's something out there called comfort food, but
mm,
typically comfort food is going to be high in salt and sugar and fried and
yeah,
know, lots of carbs and, all of the things, right? And so, like you said, high vibrational foods that are rich in vitamins and minerals and that are going to serve our bodies well. So,
right.
that's all part of not allowing the trauma to define you.
Right, because then you're also tapping into yourself. You're bringing your self-awareness, and you're saying, "Okay, if I'm craving these comfort foods, what's the root cause to this? What has triggered my body internally to make me crave this food? Is it a lack of nutrients that I'm missing? Am I needing sugar instead of having this candy? Let me eat a mango or, something like that. Or is it something that has upset me that I'm thinking, oh, I'm just letting it roll off, but now I'm craving these comfort foods." Getting down to the root of the cause and learning about it and learning how to, do things differently.
So all of what you said aligns with my theme for 2023, which is know thyself.
Mm,
So this is really about paying attention to your body, paying attention to your thoughts and your feelings and your actions for that matter. And so really being self-aware so that you can make adjustments where adjustments need to be made.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I always say we cannot expect for others to sit with us if we're not willing to sit with ourselves.
Ma'am, wait a minute. Say that again.
We cannot expect for others to sit with us if we cannot sit with ourselves. If I don't even want to sit alone with my own Erykah Badu bag lady, then why would somebody else want to sit with me?
Hello. I hope y'all heard that. I hope y'all heard that. And see, I know during COVID, the whole social distancing, people were
reflection.
not happy with sitting with themselves. Okay. They were not.
Yeah. Yeah. No pedicures, no manicures, no hair getting done. The realness.
The real. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. We got Victor Gaines on here. Thank you for being. He said, "Amen." And we got Vaughn. She's a clinician out of Carolina. She said, "That's good." We heard it. Okay. Tracy, spending time outdoors, praying and deep breathing. Very informative topic and much needed in our community. Thank you, Professor Brown-Dennis. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Tracy. My sister said that's a word. You got to be willing to sit with yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's very important because when we as adults, when we're not doing that and we're not allowing ourselves to heal, we're then passing on to our children, right? So unhealed children turn into unhealed adults that are just repeating the cycle. And so somewhere we have to break that. We have to break the cycle so we can break the generational curses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. To thine own self be true. What do you say? Unhealed children become unhealed adults.
Correct. And they repeat the cycle.
I hope y'all heard that. I hope y'all heard that. I hope y'all felt that because that's so true. So true.
It's you know, and then if you think about, you know, our youth, and I tell my students as well, childhood is an internship, right? So the adults, the parents, the guardians, the caregivers, they're the managers, the supervisors, the program directors. They're the ones that showing how to do the job. And the children are interning for this job. And so they don't get that time back and we don't get that time back, which is why it's important for us to be really intentional and teaching our babies boundaries as well, and how to be intentional and be self-aware and self-love, because they hear a lot. They go through a lot. You know, we go through a lot on a daily basis and we are experiencing so much as adults, but we have a choice to walk away from the things that, you know, we're engaging in. We can change our environment, and our babies don't have that. You know, they have to go wherever the adults say that they have to go.
Yes. Very true. Katisa says self-awareness is the key when you are honest with yourself.
Yes.
Amen and amen. Love it. Wow. This has been great. This has been one great discussion. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to give some last words and tell the folks how they can connect with you.
Okay, dokie. So the very last phrase I will say is go heal. It is absolutely okay to let go of what no longer serves you, so that way you can manifest into the person that you want to be. But in order to do that, you have to go heal. And it's sounds easy to say. It is a journey, a never-ending journey, but it's very rewarding because there's only one you, and no one can love you the way that you can love yourself. And so again, I say go heal with confidence and pride and all of that good stuff. And You can connect with me. My website is www.manifestationwellness.com. You can email me at info@manifestationwellness.com. And my Instagram is Manifestation Wellness LLC. My Facebook is Manifestation Wellness.
All right, very good. Thank you for this conversation tonight.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. All right, I see a couple of comments. Shanda said, I am so thankful for this conversation tonight. Oh, thank you for being here. Let's see. Dr. A said, my encouragement is for us to get support to heal our trauma so we can stop traumatizing one another. We have nothing to deal with out here.
Amen.
Just like mean girls become mean women.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
very
That's
true.
it.
Yes, indeed. All right. So if this was beneficial to you all, let us know in the comments if you don't mind. We are hearing from some of you, Miss Tia. Thank you so much. This was wonderful and much needed. Thank you, Miss Tia, for being here. April, this was awesome. Thanks, Professor. Thank you, April, for being here. Again, we are here, Conversations with Nicole on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30. I want to invite those of you who, again, are new to the platform to subscribe to the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel and check us out. You see what we're about. Again, healing us, having these types of conversations and engaging with one another. All right, my sister is clapping it up for us. Cheryl, thank you, Professor Brown-Dennis. Great dialogue, much needed. Thank you for being here, Cheryl. Jessica, very beneficial. Thank you, Jessica. Vaughn Blakely, thank you. Great information. Our pleasure. Thank you for being here. Cecile, Mitch, I think. Thank you. I'm always thankful for the amazing Mrs. Brown-Dennis. You got a lot of fans out here tonight. Brown-Dennis, I love it.
I
Wonderful.
love my people.
And they love you too. Yes. So, again, invite you all to come back. Thank you, Rolanda, for being here. And by all means, keep us posted on any things that you have coming up in the future.
I
And,
sure will. I
all
sure
right,
will.
and
And I
we'll
thank you for doing this, for providing this platform. This is wonderful.
My pleasure. I love the conversation and the interactive. Thank you, Dr. A, for being here. Appreciate you. Much love, my sister. All right, good people. We are going to sign off. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. Next week, we have Ozzy. Ozzy will be back with us. I know he's been away for a little while. He'll be on Monday and on Wednesday. Let me check. Y'all bear with me a moment. Wednesday, we have Dr. Marilyn Spearman talking about the power of social work. The power of social work. So, yeah, that should be good. All right. Y'all have a good evening, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.